Yo, what's up guys, it's Talon, and today we are going to be having a very hard focus on mechanics and also showing you guys my best autofill pick. This is the jungle and top lane autofill pick I will typically play. Now my YouTube video that I'll release in a day or two after this video comes out will give you guys the build for Warwick. You can currently look at my rank 1 Warwick guide or like video if you want to just see the build right now, but otherwise I'll have that, you know, up soon as well if you need to understand how the champion works. But for now, focusing on my best autofill pick of Warwick, I want to focus on mechanics, and then I'm quickly going to tell you guys why I picked it here. Normally, when I'm autofill jungle, I would pick Wukong if I have a lot of AP, and I already have Brand and Morgana. And so normally in this situation, I would pick Wukong. The reason I pick Warwick in this situation is because the enemy picked a lot of champions which can't build a lot of magic resist. Diego prefers to build crit, he can't build much magic resist. Echo and Diana both need to mostly build damage, they're not going to build very much magic resist. And so even though my champion, even when I build AD, mostly does magic damage, I can, in this case, as long as my ADC or top laner picks some AD, I'm going to be okay with playing Warwick. And Warwick is extremely good into Echo because I can ult him so that he can't ult for a long time. And I'm generally good into squishy / assassin champions like Viego and Diana as well. So because it was such a good Viego or such a good Warwick game, I decided to lock him in anyways. So that's just what I wanted to talk about draft. Next is deciding on pathing. So the reason that I'm going to path the way I am here is because so basically, we'll go into the game, you know, as we talk about the pathing, right? But basically, the reason that I path towards my duo lane here is there a stronger early lane with the Caitlyn brand. There's more likely for some type of fighting to go on, whereas Poppy, not as useful if I get a Poppy ahead, first of all. And then second of all, like I said, Caitlyn, very strong early game champion, so playing around that is going to make more sense. However, in this game, I definitely could have pathed either way. If I ended up going towards the Poppy and Diana, that wouldn't have been a bad choice either because Diana is relatively easy to kill on a gank. And so you really could have gone for either kind of decision here, but that's why I ended up doing that. I didn't really want the volatility of fighting the Viego because I thought most likely Viego is going to start red, and if he starts red side, I don't want to meet him on that scuttle because Echo likely will get priority against Morgana. Now, as you're going to see here, I'm going to full clear, and then we see that Viego already ganked right here. And so because I know Viego ganked, and again, I picked Warwick because of the fact that my champion's very good in a 1v1 into a champion like Viego, for example, as we said. So when I see him, I already have him marked. I know that I can run at him and contest him and kind of bully him off of that after I get my camp, which I just smited there, and I make sure to smite so I can get there as quick as possible. I run at him and I pressure him off so that I'm able to get the scuttle. Now, because he's ended up at about 2 minutes on the on my side of the map, I know he hasn't gotten the bottom side scuttle yet because he's not level 5, and he went obviously blue to red the same way that I went red to blue because he ended up on the same side as me. So because of that, I immediately go and try to double scuttle him since I know he hasn't yet gone for the scuttle. So I run through, make sure that Echo is pressured off, and then prioritize that scuttle. That way I'm able to get a good camp lead. And then I see the Viego is still on the top side of the map. And so because of that, I look for a gank here on the half health Diana, who I can see is half health because I have her marked with my thing. Now here, I'm totally fine with trading 1 for 1 because I'm going to get first blood. What I didn't expect is that my Poppy decides to flash in and kill himself afterwards. And so it ends up not being as ideal for us, but I still get myself a pretty good gold lead. And so even if my teammate, you know, makes a unique play, we at least get one kill, but we get 450 gold because it's first blood gold. So overall is fine. So basically this game, the things you got to understand so far, we pick Warwick because he's really good into these squishy assassin type of champions and really good at 1v1ing them. Then we path towards our stronger lane of the Caitlyn brand early game. We make sure that we prioritize full clearing. Then when we go on scuttle and realize that Viego's matching us, we pressure him off of scuttle. We get the scuttle ourselves, and then we realize since he hasn't gotten the other scuttle that we go double scuttle him and then look for that gank right after. That's essentially what happened in the early game. And you're going to see the game ends up going really poorly despite you know, everything here. So overall, everyone else on my team has either, you know, died and not gotten any kills or just not gotten any kills at all. And then Viego goes for a mid gank right after. And so just overall, we're down a lot. I'm really the only one who's kind of strong, and so I'm going to be prioritizing my own farm. Now here, if I see Echo overextend, I'm going to be a really good champion at ganking people in general. So I'm going to activate my W on him, and then I'm going to go just look for the gank onto him. I'm going to make sure, and this is where I want to start talking about mechanics here. So again, I wanted to just explain my early game thought process to you guys first. But then when it comes to mechanics, which is what we're going to focus on here, is mostly why I'm doing what I'm doing. And the first thing that I'm doing here is I'm not wasting all of my mobility right when I go on the champion, because he still has potentially a flash or a way to escape, and so I'm not going to immediately blow all of my mobility on him. So that's an important thing regardless of the champion you're playing. Make sure that you wait for the enemy to use their mobility to run away before you follow with your mobility. So notice how initially I just dash onto him with my first ability, then he dashes away from me, and then once he stuns me and runs away, I use my ultimate to chase him back down. So that way I'm able to kill him here. So understanding that mobility usage is extremely important when it comes to mechanics. So again, that's the main focus of this video, is how you use mechanics to kind of carry games. And so after we then do that, we're going to go clear the rest of our map, recall, spend our gold, and then set up for the objective of choice. Now for me here, that's going to be Herald, because Herald is better for snowballing. My Baron laner is winning lane, and I'm really strong. So just for all those reasons, it overall makes sense. Here I'm going for plated steel caps instead of mercury treads, even though they have a lot of AP, because I'm going to build Wit's End right after. That way I'll have both armor and magic resist for the different damage types that they have. Here we blow Diana Flash right before the objective, and then we just go and we force the objective. And then you're going to see here I'm going to continue hitting it even though the enemy are contesting. And the reason for that is because I have Flash. I can easily go over the wall if I need, even though I know the enemy may contest because their jungler just killed the dragon. But then I see their jungler on the top side, and so I know I'm safe to do this. I just have to end up maybe fighting people if they do show up. But I know their jungle's not here because I see him top side, and so we prioritize going on to the Ezreal. Morgana gets a nice root, and then we're pretty much able to one-shot him there. Now, in this case, you're gonna notice how I did use my mobility right away onto the Ezreal, even though he had his third ability. The main reason for that is because obviously I was a lot further away, so I had to close the gap quicker. I'm also saving my Morgana's life here. And then lastly, I know that I still have my flash and my first ability to follow him if I need. So you're going to see I don't actually use my first ability until now, where then I'm able to catch him out with that mobility. So it's again understanding the different use of mobility in these situations, which really allows you to kind of catch people out, right, once again. And so we're basically able to do all that there. Now here, I thought that Echo did not have his ultimate, and so I flashed onto him, and it turns out he had his ultimate, so it ends up being a bit more messy here, but we do barely still make it out. So a little bit of a mistake from me not realizing that, but I ended up making it out barely anyways. And because their jungler is still overextending on top side, I decide to invade him afterwards, drop the Herald, get first turret right away rather than dropping it mid, because I know I can just guarantee that first turret. And then I use my third ability to block Ezreal first ability, then run away. So again, first mechanical thing is just using your mobility to catch out when the using your mobility after the enemy use their mobility when you can, or not using all forms of mobility at the same time. So maybe you use your ultimate, first, and then you don't use your first ability until later to drag onto someone after they use their mobility, or vice versa, that type of thing. Then here, we end up just farming our camps when they're up, and then since we see them going pretty aggro on our mid turret, we want to make sure we protect that. And so I'm going to run at them just to pressure them off that turret and see if I can potentially kill anyone. So again, we force out some mobility from the Ezreal without actually having to use anything of our own. We protect the turret, and we blow another flash, and then we know Ezreal doesn't have his third ability because he just used it on us about 5 seconds ago, and it's a longer cooldown than 5 seconds. So we're able to ult onto him, get a free kill. And then notice how immediately after I get that kill, I'm not wasting any time, I go right back to farming, and then we see the Zyra show up here, so we're able to kill Zyra as well. Again, I know I'm skipping through a lot. The reason I'm skipping through is because each of these videos are going to be focused on a specific, aspect of gameplay or two. So I'm just going to explain my thought process to you guys, and then focus on that specific thing, right? So again, when it comes to those mechanics, that's the first main thing I want to talk about, and then soon you're going to see us start to talk about spell tracking, especially when it comes to mechanics and how that helps you a lot in outplaying fights. So here, pretty straightforward. We just try to close the gap to fight the enemy. We activate our third ability, and then we just fear him right before he can dash away or anything. And because of that, we're able to kill him. Pretty straightforward there. But you're going to see in a second, this is going to be where I'm going to start to kind of explain more of like the small types of things that I'm keeping track of when I'm in these kind of more close fights, these more dangerous fights. That type of thing. So obviously, like, basic things is like using your defensive spells to block as much damage as possible. So I do that with the Viego. When he uses all of his damage on me, I'm obviously using my third ability. Now here, unfortunately, he's able to kill my teammate, but we end up getting him back. And then this is where I kind of want to start talking specifically in this play about what is going through my mind. And basically what I'm trying to think of is what spells are the enemy going to use when I do certain things, and how can I respond to those spells? So the first thing that I understand here is that Warwick first ability dash will follow someone if they dash. And so Ezreal, I expect if I go onto him here, to dash. Now I know I'm up 2 levels on him. I know that their jungler is dead, and I see their mid laner, so I know most likely I have an outplay angle here. My ultimate's coming up, and I have flash as well as third ability. So because of that, I know I can briefly tank the turret, dash onto him and get some poke on him, and then try to look, see if I can engage on him once my ultimate comes back up. So I'm basically looking for poke here, and I expect him to probably dash away as I go onto him. So because of that, I'm trying to drag my first ability onto him, as you're going to see here, and because of that, I drag to him and I follow his initial dash. Now, another important thing to understand is trying to get auto attacks in between every ability. So notice how when I dashed, I auto attacked one time, then I ran away, obviously, to get out of turret range. And so now what would I expect? Now, of course, I expect Ezreal to use his abilities on me when I'm running away. So that means that I have to move in a pattern to try to dodge the abilities. Again, because I'm thinking about what abilities he has. If he has skill shots, I'm going to try to dodge. If he has no skill shots, then I'm just going to run away. So in this case, you can see I'm going to try to dodge to the best of my ability. We do end up dodging, you see, to the left as well as running away at the same time to both, make a further gap between us, and then also move to the side, because if I walk straight, this may hit me, right? So that's kind of the first thing that I'm keeping in mind. And then again, because my ultimate comes back up, I have to flash out and then ult because Diana shows up. But initially, I was looking for the outplay angle there, which just doesn't end up showing up. But that's really the initial thing I'm thinking about, right, is the different abilities in the way the enemy can actually respond, and seeing if there's any way that I can kind of outplay that. Then here, again, pretty straightforward, just going back to farming, getting our camps, then we go back to a fight, or to look for fights since we've cleared most of our camps. Warwick sometimes can prioritize fights a bit harder, and so something that's really important macro-wise that I want to talk about here is the reasoning for giving up this one camp and going straight topside. So the main reason for that is I have 1 minute and 30 seconds until Baron spawns. Once Baron spawns, you have to spend almost all of your time on the Baron side of the map as a jungler, or else the enemy will sneak Baron. So because of this, I really want to get this top lane turret, which you can't currently see, but there's a top lane turret that's currently up, and we have gold bounties on that because we're down a lot of gold as a team, even though I'm really strong. So because of that, I want to make sure that I spend my next 1 minute and 30 seconds before the Baron spawns getting this turret to the best of my ability, and so I'm going to look for a play here, even though there is a camp that I could potentially be farming on the other side of the map, when normally I would tell you guys to just farm your camps. And so because of that, I look for the fight. Now again, I see that their jungle camp is spawning, so I know Viego's probably on this side of the map. Then I see his third ability, so I'm definitely aware of that fact. And then here, I notice something really, really important as well, is once again, I'm thinking about how the enemy are going to respond when the different things are happening. Now, obviously, that statement doesn't make a lot of sense. What I mean, though, is I'm thinking about the specific abilities he's going to use, the way his champion works, and trying to find the best way to interact with that. So notice how here, I wait until Viego actually gets the reset on Brand. Now, do you know why I'm waiting for the reset to go on Brand before I ult onto him? The reason is because Brand is a much lower health champion than Viego. And so I know if Brand is the one who dies and then Viego takes over Brand, he's going to be level 9 instead of level 11 and a squishier champion, so I can get way more damage off on him initially, which is exactly what I do. So then once he uses his, he becomes Brand, he ends up becoming way more squishy, and so I'm able to get him 1 HP, make him lose his flash, and then I realize I have to run out at this point because I know that if I kept chasing, he would stun me because I know how Viego's abilities work. I know he's going to second ability onto me, so eventually I just have to dash back away. Now we're going to see here in a second, I'm going to realize that Ezreal shows up, I get smited, and so I know that Viego's about to turn onto me, and that Ezreal's going to dash onto me. So I need to find a way to dodge these spells if I can. The way I do that is using this little minion to dash away. Say I had any type of dash or anything, I would also try to juke the skill shots, but that's my way of juking the skill shots. And now here, I know that the Viego still has his second ability, and if he stuns me, I will die. So again, these are genuinely the things that are going through my mind in these split-second decisions, is what spells that do they have that actually could stun me, could do a bunch of damage to me, whatever. What skill shots can I dodge? And so I'm specifically paying attention to Viego right now, trying to dodge his spell, and so obviously I'm going to try to juke in some way, where you saw I was going to the left, then I juke to the right randomly, and then it misses, right? We can see his stun misses me because of that. The next important thing to understand is when it comes to fighting, you need to make sure that when the enemy use their key abilities, that you're trading back on them hard and you're trading around your own cooldowns. And so I activate my third ability, which gives me damage reduction. I'm sneaking in auto attacks to both give damage onto the enemy and give me some lifesteal, and I'm playing around my own ability cooldowns the best that I can, trading with him hard. And then again, because I've feared them both now, and again, notice how the way I position myself as well is to fear Ezreal for a second so that I can then go on to the Viego, finish the Viego off, which is exactly what we do. And now I know what abilities he's going to use next. So I just saw him use his first ability, so I have about a second or two until Ezreal uses his first ability. So I know that I have a second before really needing to specifically dodge, and then I know he's going to third ability onto me, and if he lands one more first ability, I'm going to die, which is why I use my Gargoyle to tank in case I do end up getting hit by that, because that could be a critical shot onto me, killing me. But then he ends up missing his first ability. Because he doesn't currently have first ability, I know he's going to run me down and kill me if I keep running away. So instead, I have to use the fact that I'm a melee champion with a bunch of lifesteal to dash onto him, get the lifesteal from it. My dash ends up following his third ability. That I didn't predict. I got lucky that happened. And then when my third ability comes up, I'm able to barely survive. But again, notice how even for this split second, which again, we'll go back, a little bit, but even for that split second, when my third ability is not quite up, notice how I dodge, because I know he potentially will try to hit me with a skill shot. And so instead of immediately running at him when I don't yet have my third ability, I dodge one time, which you can see dodging to the left there, makes him miss a skill shot, and then we're able to dash on him and outplay. So again, I know this is a lot of very specific things, and I don't normally talk that hard about mechanics because these are things that are harder to teach to people. But the things that are going through my mind in these situations, which again, remember, the macro reason I was in this place in the first place was because I wanted this turret before Baron, which is exactly the outcome we got. Now, don't get me wrong, there's no way I could have known I'm actually going to 1v2 outplay those people. I couldn't have predicted that. But because we're down a lot in gold as a team, and I'm the only one who's strong, I want to make these types of plays for these comeback, getting these turrets, making these types of outplays, going for these harder plays to execute, because if I don't make these plays work, I'm going to lose the game because my team is behind a lot. So I wouldn't go for these types of outplays as well if my team wasn't as strong, or wasn't as behind rather. But because my team is behind and I'm strong, I really need to make the most out of my lead. And then again, when it comes to these mechanics, both using my mobility to follow their mobility rather than just using my mobility right away and blowing it all so then they can run away from me, and then keeping track of specific spells like Viego W so that I can dodge his stun, Ezreal first ability so I can dodge that, knowing that when Ezreal will potentially dash so that I can try to make my dash follow him. Understanding these types of things is what leads to me getting these outplays. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of times where I'll try to do those outplays and I'll just die because I'll juke and then I'll still get hit by the skill shot. But that awareness of skill shots, of the rough cooldowns, again, I don't actually know Ezreal Q cooldown on, from my heart. I don't know the Viego W cooldown, even though I play both those champions. I don't know their cooldowns exactly, but I know, it's roughly, it's a first ability on Ezreal. It's probably, 2-3 seconds. Of Viego second ability, it's not super long either. I know both those spells after I'm, say they use it and it's been in the 5 seconds, I should probably be aware of it potentially coming again, that type of thing. And then same thing in this game, or in this situation again, we're focusing once again on mechanics. How many dashes does Diana have? She has her third ability, which she can only dash to other minions or champions, and she has flash. So in this case, there's no current minions of my own for her to dash to, and she just used her flash. So I know if I'm on top of her, she dies, right? Because I'm also up 2 levels. And so I'm able to use the minion to dash, third ability, flash, or flash then third ability, and then now she's just guaranteed dead because she has no other forms of mobility to run away from me. And so again, keeping track of those forms of mobility, those different abilities, and how they're going to interact with me is exactly how I'm able to get these types of outplays, where then we're able to, just be in a good spot to win the game, basically. And then here again, looking for Ezreal, trying to see if he's going to use his third ability, or his third ability before ending up going on him. And then notice even here, mechanically speaking, once again, I know my teammate's going to kill him in this situation if he just keeps running this way. And so I'm not actually like, I need this kill running at him, because if I run at him, then he could third ability away. But instead, I go to cut off his other angle. So again, I'm always thinking about how the enemy wants to respond or what they want to do. And then I'm trying to interact in whatever way I can to end up, winning in that situation. And so then even here, why do I go onto Viego like that? The reason is because he doesn't have a lot of great forms of mobility to escape. He only really has his ultimate, and it's not that long range. Now, I didn't expect Echo there, and then Echo ends up going there, and so I'm not able to catch him out, but still, worked out. My team is able to get there. And then because we have 2 of the enemy dead, and I know that my champion's pretty good at smiting, and Viego has no ultimate, I'm pretty confident in getting this objective, so I end up going for it. And this is where we're really, turning the game around. Looks like I just ulted someone here and killed them. That's pretty straightforward, right? Nothing much to talk about there, but I guess this is something to talk about. And so once again, focusing really hard on mechanics with this gameplay. Ulting onto him, pretty straightforward. But then once again, I know if I run at Ezreal and I dash onto him that he's going to potentially third ability away. Now, obviously, I can't, again, predict exactly when he's going to do it. It's more of me just trying to predict it, not me going to... I'm not always going to do it properly, but I run at him, and then because I get my dash on him really quickly, he third abilities away, and that immediately makes my target go on to Zyra. I know that Zyra is really my target here. I'm not actually trying to get this Ezreal. He's way too high health, but if I kill this Zyra, you know, that's very easy, right, to get on top of her. And so I'm immediately focused on that Zyra, and then we turn our attention to someone else, and then we just dodge away because we see someone, you know, show up. And usually when you see someone on your screen show up randomly, you probably want to dodge away. So when Diana showed up on my screen, I ended up dodging away rather than going forward onto her, which again is more of just a reaction thing. And then here you're just going to see, because I'm so fed, my champion's just able to do what my champion does. But even here, again, when we're speaking about mechanics, I know my champion's limits really well. I know I'm up 3 levels, and if I get a first ability onto someone, I'm going to be able to heal off of them and pressure them away. So this is, again, just me understanding what my champion can do. Then I see, because of my passive, I know that I can potentially run at Echo. A little greedy, honestly, but, you know, works out fine enough. But again, ability tracking really is what's allowing me to do a lot of these things. And you don't actually have to know the exact ability cooldowns of champions. Just estimate it roughly based on what makes sense. Like, obviously, a really OP ability might have a longer cooldown, like Echo or like Warwick's second ability, right? But a more just basic ability like an Ezreal first ability, probably a lower cooldown. So that's how you're kind of keeping track of these. And then the more you play, the more you have a better estimate of those cooldowns, that type of thing. Just all comes kind of with experience, with practice, and that's why mechanics have to be trained a lot through practice. But you can notice how I'm still thinking about a lot of these things, these different cooldowns, that type of thing, even in a situation, you know, where it might look like I'm not actually making any of those decisions. I'm just magically, you know, killing everyone because I'm strong or whatever. But in reality, those are some of the things that are going through my mind when it comes to fighting as a Warwick in these types of games. And again, this is most assassins, most aggressive types of junglers are going to be thinking about something like that. And then again, here we go on Viego because he doesn't have a lot of ways to escape, as we focused on before, where again, his ultimate is not that long range, so it's pretty easy to catch him out, which is why I can ult on him right away. And then here, again, Diana just shows up, or is pretty free, you know, to kill. So pretty straightforward there. Follow her once again with our first ability. And then here, again, straightforward. But again, the thing I want to talk about here is how I squeeze in auto attacks to get my healing, / I squeeze in my first ability to get my healing. So a lot of people, when they're really close to dead, they'll run away as a melee champion and just let themselves basically die. Just get ran down by the ranged champion and die. But here I know that my best chance at actually surviving is hitting the Ezreal with my abilities and my auto so that I can heal. And so that's exactly what you see me do here. And then I try to run away afterwards, and then he flashes because he's scared of me because I'm a scary level 14 Warwick. Then we immediately go back to healing once again. And then I think I killed this Ezreal. Oh yeah, and then this is something I wanted to focus on as well. So on my map, I just saw Ezreal magically blink forward a little bit, which means I know he used his third ability. I know he doesn't have flash because we saw him use it like 20 seconds ago. So I know that's his third ability, and I know he doesn't have it. And so because I just saw him dash, I know he doesn't have this. I know I can just flash onto him and kill him because he can't flash away from me, and he can't dash away because he just used it. And so again, spell tracking just leading to so many free kills, so many outplays in these different situations. And then it looks like something happens here. I don't even remember what happened. It looks like I just see Viego, and so I just ult onto him, try to protect my teammate, but you know, we don't save him. But I think he ends up getting 2 plays. Yeah, I remember that. That was kind of a crazy outplay there, but still fine for us. I mean, I'm 5 items at this point. Very, very strong. And the game's actually, now we're up 3k gold. So this is like a mega hard carry where you can see mechanics are a lot of what won me this game. Like, I made the proper decisions that I tell you guys to make, but I'm sure a lot of you guys make these decisions that I tell you to make in my different videos, and you're like, well, Talon, I'm still losing a lot of my games even with those. And this is definitely one of the reasons. It's like, if you get a lead, that's great. But then thinking about the mechanical aspect of games after, again, I'm following the Ezreal Y because he used his third ability, so I know I can now catch him for free, and he doesn't have flash because, again, we saw him flash about 40 seconds ago at this point. So once again, just constant spell tracking leading to so many different outplays, so many different plays. And then again, I know Viego just respawns, so I think I have time to do this, so I end up trying to squeeze the Baron out of this situation. But yeah, like these mechanical kind of outplays are really one of the reasons that I'm able to climb as well. It's not just purely macro. Macro is certainly the most important part of it. Decision making, that type of thing is really important. But these types of outplays also do play a big factor in whether or not you climb. And even if it's a smaller amount, it still is definitely something to work on and try to improve on. So again, here, pretty straightforward. We end up going on to Viego. ulting him right away. And then at this point, I'm so fed. I have my gargoyle. But again, notice how when I'm really low in this fight, I'm still trying to get auto attacks. I'm not trying to auto Zyra because I think I'm going to kill Zyra. I'm trying to auto Zyra because that's how I'm going to heal up enough to live. And you're going to notice the amount of margin that I live on here is enough of a margin where every auto attack I squeeze in, notice Echo dashed onto me here, I autoed. Echo dashes onto me again, I'm autoing. Every time my first ability comes up, I'm queuing, right? That was a Q right there to kill him. Every single auto attack there and every Q that I got in is the reason that I lived despite making a stupid decision. Like, I shouldn't have dove into 3 people, but I'm able to live there and outplay because 1, my champion, you know, at this point I'm mega fed. But 2, because of all of these small auto attacks I'm squeezing in that a lot of you guys just wouldn't focus on squeezing in. And then I use my first ability there to become briefly CC immune, because my first ability does make me CC immune. If I'm clicking it and being CC'd while I'm in the animation, then I'll end up just escaping it basically. And then at this point, we end the game, dive someone, try to kill Desira as well, make her flash away, and then we end the game. So I hope this was useful for you guys. Again, this series I'm going to be focusing on a lot of very specific parts of my gameplay in different videos so that you guys can find different parts of your gameplay to work on. Because remember, when you watch these videos, I want you to take away whatever you feel is most valuable for you and then go into the next, couple days or even a week of gameplay focusing specifically on that. So if you feel like your mechanics are one thing that you struggle in, try to focus on this harder. If you don't know cooldowns of champions well, go into practice tool and try those champions out or read their abilities and see what their cooldowns are. Focus on ability tracking. Don't waste all your mobility until the enemy use their mobility. Again, keep track of specific abilities, trying to dodge them, or if you need to, for example, there might be a Zed. If there's a Zed, you might be like, okay, if Zed ults me, I have to have my stasis for a Zed. I can't use my stasis on a random, whatever else. It needs to be for Zed. If I have a Q assess because they have an Ashe, I'm going to make sure I wait for Ashe arrow. As soon as I see Ashe arrow me, I'm going to Q assess right away, so then I can go on to like that type of thing, right? So that's basically it for this video. I hope it was valuable for you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video.